Welcome to This Explainer. Look, how often do you find yourself just completely swallowed up by your daily routine? You know the drill. The alarm rings, the coffee brews, the commute starts, and boom, before you know it, another whole week has just vanished into thin air. Well, today, we are breaking out of that cycle. We're going to unpack this short but absolutely brilliant piece of writing called The Soul of the Journey. It dives right into the true psychological depths of travel. It's this super intimate look at exactly why we leave home in the first place, and honestly, what really happens to our minds when we do. I want you to answer this question honestly for yourself. Do you ever feel kind of stuck? Do you ever get that creeping, nagging sensation that the greatest, most vibrant chapters of your life have already been written? Like you're just coasting through the epilogue now? Yeah, it's a heavy thought, I know. But it's one that catches literally all of us at some point, right? Usually on a long, boring commute, or while you're staring blankly at a screen. But here's the thing. The source text we're analyzing today makes a breathtakingly bold promise right out of the gate. It dares to suggest that your absolute greatest experiences, the moments that are going to truly define you, no, they aren't in the past. They are still out there, waiting for you. Okay, let's dive into this. Part 1, the call to leave home and stepping out of that routine. The text kicks off with this incredibly powerful provocation. The best moments of your life aren't found at home. Now, on the surface, sure, this just sounds like a catchy advertisement for taking a vacation. But if we sit and meditate on this for a second, it's actually asking for something so much deeper. See, home represents safety. It is the predictable, the controllable, the known. I mean, it's so incredibly easy to just default to our carefully curated streaming queues, our perfectly broken-in couch cushions, and our absolute favorite Friday night takeout spots. But leaving the house physically is one thing. The deep psychological step of actually abandoning those comfort zones, that is the real requirement here. To find those best moments, we literally have to willingly step away from the exact structures we built to keep ourselves comfortable. We have to pay the price of admission for great experiences, and that almost always means giving up our predictability. Moving on to part 2, stories in the unknown. Discovering the unseen. So the text transitions away from this illusion of safety at home and hits us with a real challenge. It says our greatest moments are waiting somewhere you've never been. I really want to emphasize that exact phrase for a second. Never been. Why is stepping into completely unfamiliar territory so absolutely crucial for our personal growth? Well, think about it. Because when you're in a place you've never been, you have absolutely zero prior habits to rely on. You can't just navigate your day on autopilot anymore. You don't have those mental shortcuts for how to order a coffee, or how to cross some chaotic street, or even how to greet a complete stranger. Suddenly, your senses are completely heightened, your assumptions are entirely stripped away, and you are forced to be 100% present in the current moment. Yes, the unknown might be super intimidating, and yeah, getting lost is practically guaranteed, but it's the ultimate blank canvas for a brand new experience. The source text actually gives us 3 very specific environments of discovery, and they definitely aren't chosen at random. First, think about the mountain. A mountain requires intense physical hardship, right? It demands sweat, burning calves, and probably a moment halfway up where you're deeply regretting packing such a heavy backpack. But the discovery there, it's often one of pure triumph, realizing your own physical and mental strength when you finally reach that summit. Then consider the hidden beach. A beach represents this beautiful isolation, the rhythmic sound of the waves literally pulling away the noise of modern life, leaving you with this deep, uninterrupted peace and, maybe a little sand in your shoes. Finally, the quiet village. Now, this isn't about nature at all. It's about human connection. It's about observing entirely new rhythms of life, really reflecting on how other people exist in the world, and finding a shared humanity over a simple local meal. Every single one of these landscapes offers a completely different mirror for your own internal reflection. And what do that mountain, that beach, and that village all have in common? The text tells us they each have a story to tell. It's like the world isn't just this static, flat backdrop for your vacation photos. It is an active, breathing participant in your journey. The environment is alive. It carries its own history, its own unique struggles, and its own quiet wisdom. Whether we're talking about the worn cobblestones of some ancient plaza or the total silence of an old-growth forest, the world is constantly offering up these profound lessons. That is, if we simply pay attention. Which brings us to part 3, the art of listening. Are you ready? So, the crucial point is right here. Are you actually ready to listen? In the classic hero's journey framework, there's always an ordeal or this major test you have to pass. But in this text, the ordeal isn't like fighting a literal dragon or surviving some intense physical battle. No, the supreme challenge is entirely one of mental awareness. I want to genuinely ask you to consider this for a second. When you step outside your daily routine, are you truly receptive? Or are you just lugging all your domestic anxieties into a brand new time zone? I mean, it is so incredibly easy to sit at this picturesque little cafe in a gorgeous new city and just scroll through the exact same stressful work emails you'd be looking at back home, right? Actually, listening means silencing the ego. It means putting away the digital distractions and allowing the true story of the place to actually reach you. Part 4, Destination versus Discovery, a complete paradigm shift. Now, what's really interesting about this comparison is the juxtaposition here. There is just a massive difference between simply reaching a destination and actually discovering a new version of yourself. Think about the purely logistical side of travel, the itinerary, the checked boxes, dealing with that brutal jet lag, and the fleeting romance of arriving at a famous landmark just so you can get the stamp in your passport, right? That is simply reaching a destination. But the source text's true thesis goes way, way beyond that. It brilliantly illustrates the stark contrast between the physical act of arriving somewhere and the permanent internal transformation that real travel sparks. Look, the destination is temporary. Eventually, you're going to pack your bags, head to the airport, and go home. But the discovery of who you are when you get there, that newfound resilience, that entirely fresh perspective, that whole shebang stays with you forever. And that leads perfectly into Part 5, Ultimate Transformation, the evolution of the self. Let's move forward and see how this builds. We can mentally map out the exact psychological path the source material has just guided us through. Step 1 is the departure. That's making the brave choice to physically and mentally leave the comfort of home, waving a big goodbye to that predictable routine. Step 2 is the journey. This is where you step into the unknown, facing the mountain, the beach, or the village, and you actively listen to the stories they hold instead of just blindly checking them off a list. And finally, step 3 is the transformation. This is the real evolution of the self. You absolutely do not return from the journey as the exact same person who departed. The experiences, the hurdles, the surprises, they've fundamentally rewired something deep inside of you. And this quote right here completely encapsulates the magic of the entire process, because every journey changes you in ways you never expected. I really want to dwell heavily on that one word for a second, unexpected. As human beings, we just love to plan our lives, don't we? We want to architect exactly how we're going to grow, exactly who we're going to meet, exactly what we're going to learn. We map out these rigid 5-year plans and highly optimized daily schedules. But true transformation, it can't be predicted, and it definitely cannot be scheduled. You cannot know the new version of yourself until you actually take the leap and let the world do its work on you. The unknown doesn't just offer new sights to photograph for social media, it actively demands a new you, a version of you that's capable of adapting to surprises. And that brings us to the final, lingering question derived from this truly beautiful text. If our absolute best moments are still out there waiting for us, and if leaving the safety of home guarantees an unexpected transformation, well, then the only question left to ask is this: who will you become next? Really think about it. The world is out there right now, holding its breath, just waiting to tell you a story that will change you forever. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I truly hope this sparks a little courage for your next great departure.